obviously, yeah, continue to let people in, but we'll go ahead and get started.
All right, sounds good.
Welcome everyone. I'm Lynn O'Connell, Chairman of the Board for Together Women Rise. And we also have here from staff, Gina and Vina and Jenny, as well as I'm ecstatic, our interim president and CEO, Betsy Smallyan.
Hi, everybody.
Then we also have Jill here from One Village Partners, who is our September featured grantee, as well as from Community Cloud Forest Conservation, one of my favorites, but One Village will be after September, don't worry. But with Community Cloud Forest Conservation, we have Dawn, and then we have Elvira, and Natalie will be translating for her. Is anyone here for the first time? Their first, Sandy, well, welcome. And then of course, and Susan too. Okay, great. Well, Sandy, what is your chapter? Where is your chapter?
Oh. Hey, everyone. We're located in Greeley, Colorado.
Wonderful. And Susan?
Hill, Rhode Island, with Gail Burchard.
Wonderful. And anyone else here for the first time? Solveig? Okay, it's okay.
This is my first time to this sort of meeting. I'm a member and a leader for Dining for Women in West Virginia, but I haven't been to the remote ones before.
Well, good. Welcome.
Thank you.
And Solveig, are you still on mute there? It's usually over on the far left. Okay, hello. And then Pam, is it your first time with us?
Yes, and Solveig and I are both from the Tucson, Arizona chapter.
Wonderful. It's wonderful to have so many first timers. Anyone else that I didn't see there? Great. Yes. Hopefully you'll enjoy this very much tonight. It is a thrill to actually be able to see live the grantees. So Together Women Rise is a powerful community of women and allies dedicated to achieving global gender equality. We have hundreds of local chapters across the U.S. where members learn about gender equality issues, give grants to organizations that empower women and girls in low-income countries, and build community to forge meaningful connections with each other and with women and girls around the country, which we usually do through our chapters. Tonight, we have our monthly national webinar that's always the first Thursday of the month, and it's open to anyone, not just Together Women Rise members, but anyone who cares about and wants to learn more about global gender equality. Now, a few Zoom instructions. You have over on the far left of your screen, in most cases, the mute and unmute. When our speakers are speaking, it's good to be muted. If I hear noise, I think Gina can mute, as the host, can mute everyone if needed be, but keep that in mind. And if you have a question, you'll want to unmute. Then we have the chat box, which some of you have discovered, which is in the middle of your screen. So feel free to put anything in there that you'd like as we go along. And then if you go up to the upper right hand of your screen, you should see something that says view, and it has a tic-tac-toe board. If you click on that, you have a choice of seeing gallery, which is all 32 of us tonight, or actually you see 24, I think, and the others are on a different screen, or you can click on speaker when our speakers are presenting if you just want to see them. Okay, hopefully that makes sense to everybody there. Any questions about that? Everybody good? Okay, so now I am pleased and honored to introduce our September featured grantee, One Village Partners. This featured project addresses the persistent challenges to women's financial literacy and empowerment. One Village Partners uses a picture-based curriculum to equip women with skills and tools to take control of their financial position in the household, open a business, and engage in civic life. First, we're going to share the One Village Partners video, and then I will introduce the speaker. Gina, away with you.
Just a moment.
Okay. It's okay. We can flip the order if we need to. Gina, would it be helpful if we switch the order and have Jill talk first?
Yes, why don't we go ahead and do that?
Okay.
Thank you.
So, no, you're welcome. Technological difficulties are the story of my life, I think, with the world of Zoom, other than Zoom fatigue. At any rate, so we're going to introduce our speaker from One Village Partners first, and then we'll show the video afterwards. So I am thrilled tonight to introduce Jill Lalonde. She is the Executive Director of One Village Partners, a Minnesota-based international NGO that facilitates community-led development projects in Sierra Leone. She also serves as adjunct faculty at St. Mary's University of Minnesota in the MA International Development Program and at University of Nebraska in Lincoln in the Global Studies Department. Jill has more than 15 years of experience in the international development and nonprofit sectors, ranging from Gates Foundation funded public health research in Northern Uganda to managing multi-million-dollar USAID funded projects across Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. Jill holds a BA in psychology from the University of Minnesota and an MS in development studies from the London School of Economics. And I'm going to turn it over to Jill to share some comments about the project for September.
Thank you so much, Lynn, and thanks everyone. I'm so impressed to see this group here, especially right before Labor Day. I know Vina had told me how engaged the chapters are, and it's just been really, really fun to be part of it and to hear from many of you as we start off our month as a featured grantee. So just thank you for your engagement and your generosity, and I'm excited to talk with all of you today. I'm going to share my screen. I'm not sure who can give me permission to do that, but if you could please turn that on, that would be great. And then I just saw Nancy join from the Twin Cities, so that's awesome. I've got some local company on the call. Okay, so I'm really looking forward to your questions. So our organization, as you know, is called One Village Partners. And while we're based in the Twin Cities, I'm right outside of Minneapolis. All of our work is in Sierra Leone in West Africa. And we activate the power of individuals and communities in rural Sierra Leone to overcome poverty-related challenges. And our mission is to catalyze community-led transformation. And a huge part of that, as you all know, is gender equity and women's empowerment. And so in Sierra Leone, ineffective governance at both the national and the local levels really inhibit Sierra Leoneans' ability to access basic needs and have opportunities to thrive. And so just a few statistics for you, 44% of the population lives in multidimensional poverty, 2 million people are chronically hungry, and 80% of under 5 deaths are caused by sanitation and environmental issues. And actually, and it's 1 in 10 children die before their 5th birthday. So that's just absurd and something that needs to change. And that's why we're doing this work. And so these challenges stem from very systemic and complex legacies of the global slave trade and colonialism, civil war, and now, 2 health crises. Sierra Leone was hit so hard from Ebola just a few years back, and now they're really dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. And so the Nurturing Opportunities for Women program, which you all are funding this month, is a picture-based curriculum that equips women with life skills and community development tools so they can take control of their financial position in the household, open a business, and engage in civic life. And traditional financial literacy programs often assume too high a level of literacy, which then effectively excludes illiterate or uneducated women who could really most benefit from that sort of program. And so in our home district of Kailaun, which is in the eastern part of the country, 61% of women have had no formal education and only 29% are literate. So unfortunately, opportunities to learn productive skills that bring women to the forefront in decision-making mostly do not exist in Sierra Leone, particularly in rural areas. And so that's why we developed a picture-based curriculum so women could be equipped with both life skills and community development tools without having to have formal literacy or financial literacy skills. And the program currently has 3 phases, which I'm going to go through very briefly for you, and you can certainly ask questions if you'd like to hear about any of them in more detail. So the first and kind of core piece of this program is about strengthening household finances. And this really empowers participants with financial planning, decision-making, and public speaking skills. Participants are trained on basic financial principles. They gain tools for saving and tracking their resources. And they learn communication skills to achieve personal financial goals, because of course they need to be in dialogue with their households rather than just working independently in a silo once they've learned these skills. So as I've said, the curriculum is entirely picture-based, so it's accessible to anyone and everyone, regardless of their educational background. And one thing that's really unique about this program is that at key points throughout the curriculum, we have household sections where financial literacy and what the women are learning are discussed with their husbands and male family members. And that helps to shift beliefs about gender roles in the home and the community and gives women the platform to be able to demonstrate the skills that they're learning. Then the second phase of the program was actually something that was requested by participants who completed the first phase. They said, we've learned all of these great things about financial literacy, and we know how to track our savings and have an emergency fund, but how do we apply those to our businesses? Because they're all operating businesses, you know, subsistence farmers, that's their business. And so we built this out because of community requests and participant feedback. And in this phase of the program, participants really actively problem solve and learn the tools necessary to not only develop a successful business, but also how to track and increase their profit and how to confidently communicate their business ideas. And then finally, I'm very excited. We've just started this year a pilot, again, because of community requests. They said, okay, well, also now that we've learned the business skills, so many of our businesses are in agriculture. So can you help us with our agricultural productivity? And can you help us specifically on some of these practices with growing and adding value to the crops that we're producing? And so this third phase is currently being piloted. Which participants form savings groups and they apply all their previous learnings to their work in agriculture. And they demonstrate skills in activity planning, agronomy, and value chain addition. So really just how do you make more money off of what you're harvesting by processing it or creating some new product that can then provide a markup on the sale price. And so the pilot is currently ongoing in 6 communities with 173 people. And we're very excited to both refine and then scale this and roll it out to additional partners next year. So I wanted to highlight just a few results that I've been really excited about. I know not everyone's into the metrics. I'm a numbers person, so I'll just give you a few highlights here. 95% of graduates report having increased control over their household finances. And this is huge because this is a community where men control finances in most situations. And this is particularly true in rural areas. So when we start seeing women being able to make financial decisions in their households, this goes a huge way to shifting gender norms and beliefs. And even making joint decisions where their husbands are consulting them goes a huge way to changing dynamics in a community. 87% increase in women reporting speaking in public after completing the program. I think this is somewhere around like 20% at baseline. I mean, we see an absolute huge increase in women using their voice in public meetings to speak their minds, to state their opinions. And as we all know, women have many important and powerful things to say. So we're very pleased to see that we're creating this platform for continued progress beyond just the curriculum that we are providing. And finally, we see a 200% increase in women who have an emergency savings fund after completing the program. We did a survey a few years ago, household survey, and one of the questions was, how many financial shocks has your household experienced in the last year? And you think about in the US or in many places around the world, right? If you have a death of a close family member, a loss of a job, serious illness, those are real huge life crises. And hopefully you're not seeing those things happen every year. And if you are, hopefully that's a short period of your life that's happening. The average number of shocks a household experiences per year in the households we surveyed was 3. And so having an emergency savings fund so that people can effectively respond to those crises, whether it's getting to the hospital or being able to pay for school fees when somebody is out of a job, that is so incredibly important for resilience and ability to bounce back after the shock rather than fall backwards in poverty. And so just a quote from Matu in Golan, which is one of our community partners. She graduated from the NOW program. She says, One Village Partners work has taught me a very big lesson that speaking in public or interacting with other people within the society is not qualified by the level of one's education, but rather through dedication, commitment, and perseverance. So that is all I have for you. So I will turn off my slides.
Thank you, Jill. That was very interesting. And that reminded me, we're going to do the video in a moment, but please put your questions into the chat box that you have. After the video, Gina will be reading the questions from the chat for Jill to answer.
Okay, so we're going to give it another try here.
Thank you, Gina.
I remember as a girl, I saw how women had no control over what they earned. In my culture, men are taught that they must control women. Women are not allowed a voice. Women cannot come together. I saw my mother stay silent for years, unable to make her own decision for herself or for her family. I did not want that for my future. When I grew up and got married, I decided to fight for my voice to be heard. Many women also want this freedom, to have a voice, to provide for their families, to come together and be strong. My name is Josephine Selu. I grew up in these villages in Sierra Leone, and now I work to empower women.
Na wada je wati de na ugigi wi o po gbele ofo na fojo mi kanu mu be gbo ama bia be ya e magbe na mi aba sore sia pe bo wati no yo ye na bu tupu mana pok ti ho do ri gwa me kanu mu ya na bia be lo ma na be ba na poni si ho ye na fu na ke bo gbo ama fie be ya e magbe ye mi aba sore sia pe ra wa be ni lo
OVP started the NOW program to nurture opportunities for women, to give them voice, to set financial goals, to save, to budget, and to achieve success. OVP designed a unique, entirely picture-based curriculum so many women can take part, even if they cannot read and write. The calendar has 5 different areas, similar to any household budget. It's like an annual budget that directly visualizes exactly how much to save. These basic tools are the first step women take to transform their lives.
Nyare me ma me ke mo fo ye me ke ge bia na o ga yun OVP ga pa la mo sa ge ba yi sia ta nya ye mo tu ga tu wo school ke school e da fo na onu mu pa se na ba gi gu ro ko pe ma ye lo ke sa na ka gi ta piana so aro ko ma ga ye na bokoko before school la umanya gugwa la kanu ya time ita ya ro ya anya beti pe school la ogare bia
nyala fati dugba fo fele mi aga pia na program nju time na ge ya ma numu nya ga na volala le ya business ye ke business na ye nya na fa ye pe bolo ma because ye be se ga ye ko lala. So during now program, you start to move back. Go we no back ba join him ma hunta. Jefa, mo pe mo ye program na ma. No botoma pe invite ye hu be ahu la ke tmo ga lo se te ye hu la. Ke jina mu ka tagria, go to na savings wala kai bi go ma.
Temiona afo yo to moyi ka invite bi na o program ju ka o to atogia tie ye na munya ga gegere mo ko mu pipera mwanya ni go ya da ye mu lwa before program ya na mwata mwana ye gima together.
We have come far. We have a voice. We can provide for our families. We have freedom. We look at what we have accomplished and we are proud. But we know there are still women who live alone in silence. So we can't rest now. We women must continue to use our voice as one. The louder we make our voice, the more women we can inspire. We are strong together.
Thank you, Gina. Great video, Jill.
Wonderful.
And Gina, we'll turn it over to you now for questions.
Okay, we do have a few. Lynn is asking, let's see, what businesses are proving to be the most profitable for the women?
That's a great question. I would say that I hear most about agricultural businesses. It's not something that we've surveyed. We do follow-ups and evaluations to actually learn about profitability, but I'm not sure by business type. However, because so many people are engaged in agricultural businesses, we can only assume that women and individuals are making the best decisions based on the information that they have. And so I'm kind of using that as a proxy for the business profitability, because women are learning the skills to make good business decisions where they can make a profit. So I'm sorry I don't have a clear answer on that, but that's my hunch.
Thank you. And Priscilla just has a comment that teaching literacy through a picture curriculum is so valuable. Even in the U.S., we have the same issues with people coming from developing countries as refugees, and it's brilliant. Another note and questions from Lynn. The wars and the health crises have taken a great toll on Sierra Leone. That has obviously impacted the education of many of the grown women. What is the situation now with young girls and education, and what percentage go to school? What is the average grade that is completed?
That's a fantastic question. Okay, let me see how much I can answer with statistics. I learned recently that I think it's 1 or 3/4 of children, not just girls, but children overall, drop out of primary school. So only 1/4 of children are even completing primary school, so up through grade 6. And we can assume that more than 50% will be girls, because families are, if they're making a choice, are oftentimes invested in male children. However, the average, when you look at, I think it's the UN statistics, the average completion, the average grade of completion is, I think, 10th. So that is largely then offset by those in the capital and those that have more access to urban education and more resources, as well as those who are going to college, are offsetting all of those many children who are dropping out. I think there were a few questions in there. I'm looking for it in the chat, but I'm not seeing it. Gina, can you tell me if I missed something?
Let's see, percentage, what average grade is completed? What is the situation now with young girls in education? And I think maybe you got it. What percentage go to school, and what is the average grade that's completed?
I can say just for a sec what the current situation is with education. I mean, first, it's been incredibly disrupted by COVID. Last year, the schools were shut down for a series of months, and hoping that everything is smooth now this fall. The schools, a couple of years ago, the new president started providing free primary education, which was huge in terms of the policy for the for education and getting girls to school. However, there are still significant fees that parents need to pay for uniforms and supplies, which sometimes are not attainable. And the other piece is that even though this is a policy, it doesn't mean that money is necessarily getting to the schools or getting to teachers. So it's definitely like a huge step in the right direction, but I think it's going to take some years for that to really, like, the kinks to be worked out, and for the money to really be flowing where it needs to be.
Mm-hmm. Great. And Betsy is asking, how long have you been offering the NOW program, and how many villages are you in? And can you tell us more about the teachers in the program?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have been offering the NOW program since 2015. So we're in our 6th year, and we're in 22 communities. And the teachers are all One Village Partners staff who speak the local language, which is Mende. Creole is also one of the national languages that many people speak, but all of our sessions are done in Mende. So there doesn't matter what sort of language skills you might have, everybody is able to participate. And all of our staff at this level are college educated, so they've received college degrees. And we actually recruit a lot of staff from our partner communities. So some people kind of come in entry level and work their way up, which is really exciting, because then they're truly building the communities where they were born and raised.
Great. And Mary is asking, how did you get started in Sierra Leone?
Yeah, another good question. Our founder was a former Peace Corps volunteer in Sierra Leone, and he was in the Peace Corps in the late 1980s, and then he went home, and then there was a civil war for a decade into the early 2000s. And so the story is that he went back, I think it was in 2004, 2005, and the community where he had lived and the surrounding communities were completely leveled from the war. I mean, it was just, there was the forest, I mean, it's jungle, right? And so it had just overgrown the entire community. Everything was burned. It was just destroyed. And so he started by helping people rebuild their homes. And slowly, so we started really doing a lot of humanitarian assistance after the war. But over the years, as people got back on their feet, we've really moved into a pure community-led development model where we're working in partnership rather than working on the assistance side.
Great. And what percentage of the women are single mothers, and are they participating in the NOW program as well?
I don't know the percentage. There are, and also it's hard because like a lot of people might be like mothers or aunties, and you don't necessarily know like what is the biological like connection necessarily. Is it really a child, or are they caring for siblings, kids, or grandkids? So I'm not sure, but we do have many mothers in the program. So we have had women as young as 15, 16 years old in the program, and sometimes they're mothers, and all the way up to, you know, grandparents, women in their 60s, 70s that participate. And so huge variety, and many moms. I mean, most Sierra Leonean women, after they're adults, do become mothers in rural areas. I mean, that's a common path.
Great. And how long is the NOW program, and do women then go in to teach the program? And Shelley is asking that question.
Yeah, so the core piece, the financial literacy and empowerment, is 8 months. And so it's weekly sessions. So it's pretty intensive. And so women are really dedicated to the long haul. Then the business skills piece of that is an additional 10 sessions that we've added on. So another 10 weeks. And the agriculture stuff, the agricultural sessions, I believe are another 8 weeks. But again, that one's in pilot phase. And so that's not all done consecutively. Oftentimes we will do, and it just kind of depends on where we're doing other work and how we're expanding within Sierra Leone. But oftentimes we'll do the financial literacy empowerment, and then the next year we'll come in with business skills, and then the next year come in with the agriculture training. So people have a chance to really like leverage and use the skills that they've learned and apply them, and then they can get so much more out of the follow-on programs.
Great. Let's see, Nancy is asking, are the participants shown in the video speaking Creole? And if not, what language are they speaking? Is Creole universally understood in Sierra Leone?
So that is a tricky, the language spoken is Mende. So it is not Creole in the videos. The Creole question is one that I should ask some of our team in Sierra Leone about this, because if you read anything online or you know, talk to someone in the capital, like everyone speaks Creole, because that's the language that's understood and how people communicate with each other within the country. But like, I never hear Creole when I've been in our partner communities. Like, it's always Mende. And so I know that that's what people are most comfortable in. I mean, they're going to school and speaking Mende. And so I'm not sure how much it's, I think it's probably understood at like a conversational level, but I don't know that it's like, you know, kind of a native language for everybody.
Okay. Are there health services in the villages, and is the health timing and spacing of babies, family planning available easily? And Melon is asking that one.
So
and she said she'd also be interested to know about Josephine's own evolution and how did she get educated?
So there are health services in the communities, but unfortunately, I mean, the Sierra Leone continually ranks at the bottom of world health measures. So the health situation, particularly in rural areas, is really poor, and particularly for child and maternal health. The lifetime mortality risk for a woman is 1 in 17. So 1 in 17 women will die in childbirth over their lifetime, which is, again, so incredibly high, and it does not need to be this way. And it's not that there aren't clinics around, because there are clinics, and there are clinics that are sometimes or not frequently staffed. It's just oftentimes the availability of like more advanced medicine beyond anything rudimentary. I mean, we hear about like frequently about women giving birth on the road en route to a clinic because they're actually in labor, but they're not going and seeking out the clinic until they're having complications. And so it's really, really dire. And there are family planning services available. Actually, in one of our other programs, we had a community, our other program, communities design projects that are important to them, and we help them with that. And there was a community that both funded scholarships for teenage moms to go back to school, and then also provided sexual and reproductive health training for everyone in the community, and really with a focus on youth. So there are definitely family planning services available. I'm not sure, I don't know the percentages of women that are using them. The average family size in Sierra Leone, I think, is 5 or 6. So, you know, it's still very, very high. And there's a huge youth population. I mean, I don't know the exact numbers on that one either, but more than half of the population is under the age of 18. I mean, so it's one of the countries with a big youth bulge because of the high birth rates.
Okay. Well, that concludes the questions that we've received so far. Lynn, if we have time, someone had made a request of Vina. Do we have, Vina, you want to share?
This is just really quick. One of our members has sent me a chat. I would encourage all of you to watch the Zoom recording that I did with Jill. Jill and I talked about the connections between South Carolina, which is where Dining for Women and Together Women Rise was founded, and the country of Sierra Leone, because we have so many people from Sierra Leone in the Sea Islands, the Galagichi people. So we have no time to talk about that because Lynn has to move on to our next guest. So go ahead and watch the recording. It's an interesting conversation. Thank you, Jill.
Yeah, just thank you all so much for having me and for supporting One Village Partners. It's really an honor to be partners with you all, and we just appreciate so much your generosity and support. So just thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Thank you so much for being here tonight. So now I'm going to introduce our SUSTAIN grantee, Community Cloud Forest Conservation, or CCFC for short. This is the last year of our 3-year $75,000 SUSTAIN grant to Community Cloud Forest Conservation. CCFC works with local Quechua, I'm going to need help, Don.
Oh, Quechua Maya.
Thank you, women in Guatemala, addressing extreme poverty and lack of education, high morbidity and mortality, food insecurity, and diminishing natural resources. Elvira tonight is here with us. She is a member of CCFC's Guatemala Board of Directors. She started with CCFC in 2010 as a student. From 2012 to 2016, she worked for CCFC as a teacher and as coordinator of environmental education. Then from 2017 to 2018, she worked as a secondary education teacher at a school for young women where she taught bilingual intercultural communications. And today she's on the board of directors. I'm also pleased to introduce Dawn. Dawn is a professor of geography at the University of Mary Washington in Fredericksburg, Virginia, where she teaches courses in the regional geography of North America and Latin America, human geography, and international development. For the last decade, she also leads a 9-day trip to Guatemala with students each spring to learn about the work of CCFC and to engage with the young women interns and the school children who participate in the environmental education program. And I'm going to turn it over to Elvira, Natalie, and Dawn.
Thank you so very much. And again, you know, we profoundly appreciate the generosity that you've shown to us. And tonight I have 3 young women. So Elvira is here, Leslie is here, and Lydia is also here. So the last time I was in Guatemala was in March of 2020, days before the world somewhat came crashing down. But at that point in time, the WALK program, so graduates of the WALK program, they were experiencing the highest levels of university enrollment in CCFC's history. So that's really profound. I know that Leslie and Elvira have finished university. I'm not quite sure where Lydia is in her program. So I really want to turn it over to these young women, but I know that one of the questions that is really on everyone's mind and has very much had a profound impact on CCFC this last year, 18 months now. And that is the impact of COVID. So we understand the digital divide in the United States. Multiply that by a factor of 1,000 for Guatemala. So young women are continuing their studies using their cell phones. If they have internet access, which is not very common in their villages, then they often don't have money for a large enough data plan. So it really has created enormous hardship. The young women who have stayed at the center have had access to the internet. The CCFC facility does have internet, so that's been, a real help for those young women who stuck it out. And I think last year it was about 8 students over most of the summer and then into the fall. So having said that, I really think it's best if we hear from people on the ground. So my former student, Natalie Flores, who also went to Guatemala and has met several of these young women, will be doing the translating. So Elvira, can we start with you? Can you share with us what you have been doing for the last year or so, and how you're continuing to move forward?
Elvira, si puedes compartir lo que has estado haciendo por el último año, 18 meses, y qué estás haciendo para progresar.
Actualmente yo, el año pasado yo finalicé la universidad.
Last year I finished university.
Y pues ahora ya soy una mamá, tengo 2 hijas y
and now I'm a mom and I have 2 children.
Y estoy participando como directora en el programa de WAC, que pues también tal vez no directamente, porque ahora ya tengo que convertir un tiempo con mis hijos y lo otro con el programa. Entonces lo que estoy haciendo ahorita es, por ejemplo, yo llego cuando hay programas, un grupo grande, entonces llego a compartir conocimientos con ellos.
I am a director on the board of directors for CCFC. I also lead WALK, and I'm splitting my time between that and raising my 2 children, but have been going to the center and leading programs related to WALK.
Tal vez para decir también de que pues, como yo ahorita estoy progresando en mi vida, practicar todo lo que yo aprendí en el programa de WALK, por ejemplo, sobre la reforestación, cómo tener un impacto ahí en el ambiente, también ser un ejemplo para las mujeres que también viven en la comunidad donde yo vivo.
And what I am doing to progress is I'm putting in action the things that I've learned from WALK. For example, the reforestation, how to take care of my children, and most importantly, setting a good example for my children.
Thank you, Elvira. Leslie, another one of the former WALK students who's now a university grad. Are you able to say a little bit about what you have been doing for the last year and again, how you are moving forward in your life?
Entonces, si también puedes compartir lo que has hecho por el último año, los últimos 18 meses y actualmente qué estás haciendo y cómo estás progresando.
Hi, good night. I am Leslie. Or
Hi,
may I
Leslie.
say in English? Okay. In the last year, I am finishing my study in the university. In actuality, I am work in one organization of the children's. Only, bueno, para complementar, no sé mucho, ya se me ha olvidado un poco, pero el año pasado yo estaba estudiando y este año también he finalizado, pero aún me falta obtener el título de licenciatura, pero tengo el cierre de pensión.
Like she said, she is finishing her studies. She will be finished this year, is just waiting the award of the title for her license.
Y actualmente trabajo para una organización que es el Refugio de la Niñez.
And I currently work for Children, which is Refuge for an organization called Refuge for Children.
Pero mi participación en el programa anterior pues ha sido muy relevante porque ha permitido que varias personas y compañeras mujeres puedan desenvolverse y desarrollarse dentro de la comunidad.
And the things that I've learned through the participation in WALK have been really relevant because it has taught me to empower and other women and girls to develop and be a part, a voice in their communities.
Durante este tiempo, pues también he aprendido muchas cosas, como también el empoderamiento, la participación activa de las personas, tanto de mujeres y niñas que viven en contextos vulnerables.
And, you know, like I said, I have learned a lot about empowerment of women and girls, active social participation in their communities, and how to develop their own communities.
Only, thank you.
Thank you. Lydia, really the same question. And I don't remember where you are in terms of your program. I know a couple of years ago you were getting ready to finish high school and then you've gone on to university. So again, are you able to share what you have been doing for the last year or so?
Lidia, si también puedes compartir lo que has estado haciendo por los últimos 18 meses y cómo estás progresando.
I think she's on mute.
Natalie, can you tell her she's muted?
Yeah, I don't see her.
She's here. I see. Okay. I can see her speaking.
Lidia, tienes que prender tu micrófono.
Ya. ¿Hoy sí?
Ahora sí.
¿Pueden escucharme?
Sí.
Muy bien. Muy buenas noches. Soy Lidia Susana Chiquinche. Pues para mí es un gusto poder participar en esta reunión.
It's an honor for me to participate in this meeting.
El año pasado cerré pensum del profesorado de enseñanza media. Pues este año tengo la oportunidad de trabajar en una asociación que se enfoca o tiene diferentes programas especialmente para las mujeres que viven en el área rural.
So last year I graduated and became a teacher. And this year I have the opportunity to educate women specifically in rural contexts.
Are you able to explain what that means, Lydia?
Si nos puedes contar más acerca de lo que estás haciendo actualmente al respecto a educando a mujeres en áreas rurales.
Pues en la organización donde estoy trabajando se les está llevando diferentes programas, por ejemplo, de créditos y ahorros, también educación precaria. Se les está llevando estos programas con la finalidad de que ellos aprendan algo productivo o se les enseña algo donde ellas pueden conseguir algún ingreso que les ayude. También programas de emprendimiento, por ejemplo, la elaboración de pizzas, jaleas, otros programas.
So it's related to savings, financial literacy, business opportunities, value adding, like making jams, and really how they can empower themselves to be independent.
Y también estoy trabajando o participando en un grupo de mujeres emprendedoras también, que es una venta de joyería.
And I am also working in a female group of entrepreneurs that is dealing in jewelry.
Pues eso es lo que estoy realizando en estos últimos meses, en este año.
And that's what I've been working on in these last couple of months in this last year.
Bueno, en cuanto a mi estudio, pues este año estoy en el proceso de la elaboración de mi informe del nivel técnico. Muchas gracias únicamente.
And this year I am finishing up my studies and will be graduating on the technical level.
Okay, so I'm not quite sure where we are on time.
I think, Dawn, if you're okay, we're ready for some questions, unless you have anything else to add. And so, Gina, thank you to Elvira, Leslie, Lydia, Natalie, and Dawn. And now we'll turn it to Gina for questions.
Okay, so what is the situation with COVID now, and how will this impact CCFC going forward?
Okay. Things are very bad in Guatemala. The number of deaths is incredibly high. There are no plans for any return to school in a physical sense anytime soon. Partly that's because the school year is coming to an end, so it would start up again in January, and that's really anyone's guess as to whether in-person schooling will begin. So much as we've seen here in the United States, we're in many instances for those students who are in essentially up to grade 8 or grade 9, their schooling has stopped for the most part. The young women who are in university or doing additional technical degrees, like a teaching degree, they have been able to continue to study, but everything is online. And so again, it's really just those who have the means to access the internet who are able to participate.
Okay. What are some of CCFC's greatest needs going forward?
That's a very good question. always, having the financial resources that always remains a struggle. But I think right now it's not, I think it's now trying to figure out quite literally how the program is going to evolve in the next year. So this last year, they did a lot of experimentation with online programming, picking young women or a young woman in a community who would then share that information with a group of her peers. That, because of internet access issues, has been highly problematic. And so I really think that the goal is, how do we move forward next year? And how do we, as much as possible, really get back on track? Because the idea of bringing in 150 or 180 young women, which has been the model that's been fantastic, up until last year, cannot be done at the moment.
Marriott says that she's wondering if she's correct in remembering that Elvira, Lydia, and Leslie were with us on Zoom meeting last year. And so it's so nice to have them join us live for this meeting again.
Mm-hmm. I believe that is accurate.
Just wondering if any of our people who are on the meeting tonight went to on our trip to Guatemala to see on the CCFC service trip last year. It was the last trip I believe we had before the shutdown.
Was that in February?
January, I believe.
January, okay, yeah. Because we came the end of February, and I know that you guys had been there not long before, but I wasn't sure.
So I'm not sure if anybody wants to put in the chat if they were there. So that looks like all we have right now. If anybody else has any other questions, or I'll turn it back over to Lynn.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for your engagement tonight and for your enthusiasm and your support of CCFC and One Village. Just a few wrap-up announcements from me. Next Thursday night, Thursday, September 9th at 8 p.m., we have our book club, and we'll be discussing the book Cast by Isabel Wilkerson. That's going to be kind of a special one because we're going to have small group breakout rooms to actually discuss it, so a bit more engaged. Then the third week of September, we have our advocacy webinars on Tuesday, September 21st at 7 p.m. Eastern, and September 22nd at 9 p.m. Eastern. Next month in October, we have our national virtual meeting on that first Thursday, October 7th at 8 p.m. Eastern, and we'll discuss the Maasai Conservancy in Kenya and Health Right International in Uganda. Check out our website under click on Join Us, and you'll see upcoming events. You can register for the upcoming events and listen to recordings of tonight or any of the other sessions. So thank you all for joining us, and I hope to see you soon.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Lynn.
Bye, Lynn. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Thank you. Bye.